Okay, in this lesson, 7.3, multiplying rational expressions, we are going to talk about how to multiply and simplify rational expressions. So let's go ahead and look at number 7 up here. We have 54x to the fourth y squared times x to the third y squared over y to the fourth times 9x to the fifth y to the third. First thing I would do is I would simplify everything that's in the numerator. So I'm going to combine all of those in the numerator, and what we get is 54. If we combine our x's, x to the fourth and x to the third is x to the seventh, y squared and y squared is y to the fourth, and then in the denominator we have y to the fourth, 9x to the fifth, y to the third. In the denominator we are going to have 9x to the fifth, y to the seventh. When we go to simplify that, 54 divided by 9 is 6. We're going to put that in the numerator. X to the seventh, x divided by x to the fifth is x squared. That goes in the numerator. And then y to the fourth divided by y to the seventh is y to the third in the denominator. And you can't combine your x's and y's, so that's as much as you can do. In the second one, this one is already factored for us. So what we're looking for is common factors that we can cross out. And as we look in the numerator and the denominator, we have an x minus 1. That's all that we can cancel out. But we also have an x to the third and an x to the fourth, which can be simplified. So what we're left with is, let's see, if we simplify our x to the third and x to the fourth, that's going to leave with an x to the first in the denominator. So we're going to have x plus 2 and x minus 3 in the denominator. And all we're left with when we have x to the third and x to the fourth is x in the denominator. On number 9, again, this one is already factored for us. We can, let's use red, we can cross out the x plus 7 and the x plus 7. We can also look at this x squared and this x squared, which are also going to cancel each other out. So that x squared right there, and that x squared, not the 4, just the x squared cancels, and we are left with x minus 5 times x minus 1 over 4. Number 10, we're actually going to have to do a little bit of factoring on this one. If we look at the first part here, we have x squared minus 5x. So down here we're going to factor that, and we can take out an x. So we're left with x minus 5. And then if we look at x squared plus 4x plus 3, and again, all of this is just being multiplied together. When we go to factor that, that's going to be x plus 3 and x plus 1. 3 times 1 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, and in the denominator we still have that x plus 3 that we aren't going to do anything with, which is right here, so that's just going to come down, nothing else you can factor with that. And we also have the x that's just going to come down here, and what we can simplify out is we can take that x plus 3 out of the top and the bottom, and we can take that x and that x out, and we're left with x minus 5 times x plus 1. All right, on number 11, again, we're going to have to do some factoring here. So if we look first at x squared plus 3x, let's think about, here's our space, we're going to factor that. We can take out an x, and we're left with x plus 3. And then the second part, we have x squared minus 5x plus 6. and that can factor with x minus 3, x minus 2. Kind of color coded here just a little bit. And then we have the x minus 2 that's just going to come down, and the 4x that's just going to follow itself down. So we have x minus 2 and 4x. And let's go ahead and look and see what we can cross out. In the top and the bottom, we have an x minus 2 and an x minus 2. And we have an x and an x. And it looks like that is about it. So we should be left with x plus 3 and x minus 3. And 4 in the denominator. And the last question, we have all kinds of things that we can factor here. So we have the first one, we can say x squared minus 4x minus 5. That would be x minus 5 and x plus 1. Then we can take a 2x out of the next part, and we're left with x plus 3. In the denominator, here, let's do a little color coding here. This one right here, we factored to x minus 5x plus 1. This one here, we factored to 2x times x plus 3. Now we're looking at x squared plus 6x plus 9, which is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 3. And then the last one is going to be x plus 2 and x plus 1. So we kind of color code where each of these factors came from, and then we can cross out things that they have in common. So we have an x plus 3 here and an x plus 3 here, an x plus 1 and an x plus 1, and we're left with just x minus 5 and 2x. And we have x plus 3 and x plus 2. And that's as simple as we can get it. Probably should have highlighted here. And the practice B on the reverse side was your homework that you were supposed to turn in. Good luck.